Hey, friends.
Hey, how are you?
Oh, thank you so much for y'all being here today. I'm excited about this conversation. I think it's going to be wide-ranging of the different backgrounds that we have. I'm excited about the panel and what you guys have to offer here for the Soul Sessions community. I'd love for y'all to start, introducing yourself and just, tell us this. Where did you spend the first 6 years of your life?
Oh, I'll go first. So my name is Shaquille Notice. I'm actually a medical doctor from Jamaica. I served at the University Hospital of the West Indies. So for the last 6 years, transitioning from medical school into serving my community as a medical doctor. It was very life-changing just interacting with different people, seeing the different stories, and you realize each person coming in a different soul.
Yeah.
Each interaction is just very powerful as you are called to serve somebody in a different way, whether as a doctor, healer, counselor, and probably even just a friend in that moment, or even support in terms of family members. So that was very life-changing for me because every day was a new day, every interaction a new interaction. And so I think that also helped me become the man that I am today, just seeing how different people acted in different roles as a brother, son, grandfather, and kind of put life into perspective. Is what am I becoming here? What do I want to become? And it's just been an amazing time.
Yeah.
I think God has now called me to use that period of my life to now transition into a more leadership role in terms of creating a community, His ministry. And now I am using the skill set that I've garnered from being a doctor to now becoming an entrepreneur and also a community leader. So I think I'm just now called to be in a new land in order to get something here. I'm not too sure what, but I'm trusting God, trusting the process.
Yeah,
and
love that.
It's been just a beautiful ride.
And I'd imagine, based on what you shared, first 6 years of your life was in Jamaica.
Yep.
Awesome. Where is any specific part in Jamaica?
So the first 6 years of my life would have been in Jamaica in funny thing, because I was actually born in the States. 'Cause my mom was a nurse here. So I guess the whole medical tradition kind of transcended. So I was born in the States, then she moved back home to Jamaica to be with my dad. And so I spent the time in Portmore.
Yeah.
Portmore Massive, right? And so after that, we moved to the country, and which was St. Catherine, Bagwalk.
Yeah.
So I got a bit of taste of town life as well as country life.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Thanks, man. Thanks. All right. Alicia, how about yourself?
So my name is Alicia Mitchell, and I am from Virginia Beach, Virginia.
Oh.
I work as a DevOps consultant for a company that was founded by 2 engineers from Salesforce. Growing up, spending the first 6 years of my life in Virginia Beach I feel like it's so pivotal to the person that I am today, because growing up near the water is such a different experience than I feel like growing up in a landlocked area. I've noticed with a lot of my friends that grow up in landlocked areas, they seem to have a little bit more anxiety and are on edge, whereas I'm so super chill about everything.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's just the way the rhythm of life was for me growing up. We enjoyed the simple things, just hanging out by the beach was where I processed my thoughts a lot of times. And honestly, I just remember thinking about the person that I wanted to be growing up. And because I'm so tall, I've been 5'11" since, I don't know, high school. So everybody would be like, do you want to model? And so eventually I was like, maybe, yes, I do want to model. But then, of course, I was like, okay, I need to have more realistic goals, because it's only a small percentage of women that actually make it to the big leagues in supermodeling. But working in DevOps has been great, because I think a lot about how nobody really talked about tech where I'm from. honestly, I feel like up until like even like 5 years ago, like it was just, even if you worked in tech, it was just not talked about, you know? We don't really talk about work. It's literally like, what are you doing? Are you kayaking? Are we grilling? You know? So, yeah. But I feel like also just coming into the work that I do with the experience that I have of just being so like carefree, but also just being very people oriented has helped me so much in my job. Because literally all I hear people talk about is how soothing my voice is and how like I take very good care of our clients and our customers, and even our internal team. And I'm just like, it's just me. It's just, you know, who I am.
So I'm Alexandra. The first 6 years, well, I must say that I'm first generation of Ecuadorian parents. So that's something I'm super proud of, like my cultural background and everything. I grew up in Chicago. That's where I spent the first 6 years of my life. And let me see, something about my childhood. I think I love the dynamic. The neighborhood that I grew up with was very diverse. And it felt very, like everyone in the neighborhood knew each other. So it was an environment that you can always like really be a kid. You know, you go outside with your friends, play in your yard. It's like time to come back in for dinner. It's like a very safe, fun environment. And I think that has helped me as an adult, like look at life, like kind of be, how can I say, it's like where you have to learn to have fun in life, you know? And I think that's very hard as an adult, that we forget to have that fun because it's so like, life is so demanding, right? And even though as a child, you're so eager to grow up and be an adult, like once you get there, like, this is not so fun. And we forget that, you know, sometimes it's okay to pause, enjoy life, embrace like the smaller things that's around us. And I think that as a young child, I had that around me, and my mother really built that environment for us.
Thank you guys. We have Chicago, Virginia Beach, and Jamaica. Yes, I want to transition in talking about the last couple of years. One of the things you mentioned is like not too sure, trying to figure it out. So I'd imagine one of the reasons we're here is this idea of change. I'm curious if you can describe or explain one of the most recent changes you've been through in the last 3 to 5 years. Would love to hear that.
Okay, absolutely. So one of the biggest changes for me was my transition here from Jamaica to the States. So, you know, leaving Jamaica as a medical practitioner, coming here not too sure what I'm doing, but feeling this sense of being called. I realized that relationships was one of the biggest changing factors, because I realized I had a support system. That was very important. People not understanding what it is that I was doing, but still loving me through the process in terms of my parents, in terms of my friends, and just having that family support system. Like, that's kind of crazy, but we're here for it, right?
That's good. Yes, that's very good.
But also in the same sense, something so valuable being so fragile, because even in the sense of changing, I realized the friendships themselves changed in terms of now being in a different environment, different community. And there was friction with some friendships because now you realize I'm not as understood as I think I was. And also you know, coming into yourself and realizing I probably didn't even understand myself, and this different environment is allowing me to see myself in a different light. So the constant element of change, navigating that change and becoming something that God has called you into, that has been such a scary process, but so fulfilling as well. So relationships.
Thanks for sharing that, Shaquille. When you were sharing that, the thing that comes up for me is this idea of how hard has it been to make friends since you've gotten here? And I'm curious, like, what's your ideal friends look like now? Like, if you were to describe an ideal friend.
That's a great question. It was very difficult. I think with the culture of Jamaica, we're very warm people. So we usually just gravitate to newcomers here. it's a little bit more, it's harder to grab it because everybody has their own community and it's hard to intersect. And so it was very difficult. However, I believe prayer is definitely very important. So I actually prayed, God, I'm coming into something new. Please allow me, please have people for me there. So when I came, there was so it's an older gentleman, Dr. Chris Parker. He was a friend of a friend in Jamaica. And so he welcomed me into a community, his family. I was crying because I was so alone. But he introduced me to his pack, and then his pack introduced me to their pack. And I realized my initial friends were older people, and they were very wise. So I appreciate because I also prayed for wisdom. And so they were kind of teaching me the ropes, how to navigate myself. And then I was like, okay, I kind of want to go out a little bit more. And then I go to Victory Church as well. So they had a business conference. I went there. I clicked with someone named Kevin. And then he introduced me to a group of fellows who are entrepreneurs, thirsty for Christ. And then we just kicked off. And so I can see God's hand in just guiding me in terms of people and community. And so I'm very grateful. So they found me.
Yeah, okay. We might come back to that. Alicia, you want to go, remember the question is this idea around what's a significant change that we've gone through in the last few years?
Extremely great question. I love everything that Khalil said. And I resonate with that so much because over the course of the last few years, so I broke into tech probably about like 4 years ago, and I was determined to break in, and I had to do like this tech sales boot camp as well as work my full-time job to actually be able to make it in. But luckily I grinded, I hustled, completed the program, got hired by this amazing company, had to pick up my life, moved to San Francisco. COVID had happened 2 weeks later.
Yeah. Good times. Good times.
But I was able to negotiate. I literally was like, if I move back to Atlanta, can I keep my San Francisco salary? Our HR gave me the thumbs up. So I was like, I'm moving home. But I needed to move home because I have a daughter that was in college as well at the time. And I just remember her telling me like COVID had such a huge effect on her that she literally was like, she felt like she was depressed. And depression isn't familiar for me because I'm usually always upbeat and bubbly. And so I'm like, okay, let me try to move back and see if I can like help and like navigate things. So once I moved back, I picked her up from college, brought her home, and we're like talking through things. And, you know, I find out she's dating this guy and he's a little like off the reins. And like one thing led to another. Some really, really bad stuff ended up happening where he pretty much held her hostage and for a whole weekend wouldn't let her eat, sleep, drink anything. So literally her friends are calling me and they're like, you know, Miss Alicia, Deja's not okay. Crazy stuff. So I pick her up. I literally have to bring her to Grady Hospital. No, not Grady, I'm sorry. Northside Hospital, who were like angels, because when I tell you I've never seen anything like what I saw, I was just like, this is a lot. And I'm talking to my boss, and when I tell you the most understanding people ever, they were just like, whatever you need, you know, we are here to support you. Literally, HR called me up and was like, we want you to take care of yourself. We feel like you should, you know, talk to a therapist, and we're gonna cover it.
Wow.
And so, you know, went through all of that. Unfortunately, I had to go through that for another 3 years.
Wow.
And eventually I was like, all right, I have to move because I have to create distance between the two of them because this is insane. Also, quick caveat to that, I learned that Angela Lansbury had to do the exact same thing with her daughter because her daughter was interested in like learning more about Charles Manson. And so she moved her entire family to Ireland to put distance between her daughter so that she wouldn't get caught up in the madness. And I was like, okay, well, that's the next step if this doesn't work. So I ended up moving us to Charlotte because it's like a 5-hour drive to Virginia, 4-hour drive to Atlanta. And so she was doing really good. I had her speaking with a therapist as well. And the last incident happened last year, which was incredibly heartbreaking. I literally landed in Puerto Rico. I had a voicemail. I'm listening to my voicemail. It's the doctors at Emory telling me that my daughter was found naked in a parking garage in Midtown Atlanta. And I'm just like, you know, as a mom, I'm like, okay, I can't have fun. I need to hop on this plane, get back to the States, you know, make sure that my daughter's okay. And then, you know, she's fine. Like, you know, they were taking care of her. She had to be put in a mental health facility because like her mind was just like scattered. In the process, she had an apartment, $4,000 apartment here in Buckhead. I had to break the lease because I didn't know when, you know, she was gonna come out of this. Her car was missing. People were calling me up telling me they saw her car at a gas station. So I'm literally frantically trying to like get all these pieces back together. And, you know, meanwhile, everybody's like, you're so calm. And it's like, it's not that I'm calm. I feel like I'm more strategic and just trying to think of like the best way to handle things in a very rational way. And so took care of all of that, you know, got her out of the hospital. Today, she's actually doing very, very well. She's back at home in Virginia. Because Virginia, like, I don't know, it does something to the soul. As soon as my plane lands at home, I just feel so at peace. I'm just like, I love this place. I don't know what type of magic or, you know, what's what, but that place just brings me so much joy. So she's at home doing so well. And, you know, since she's good, I moved back to Atlanta. So I've been back here for 2 months.
Yeah.
Wow.
Awesome.
Story.
What a story. The one thing that came out of that, or one of the many things, is this idea of the daughter going through depression and you couldn't relate. Coming from Virginia Beach, being by the water, I guess, what was that like for you, seeing someone that you love and care for so much going through something that's almost seemingly unrelatable to you?
It is so heartbreaking because there was no resources. I thought she was on drugs. I'm literally talking to people. I'm like, what does it look like if you're on meth? Like, you know, and literally when she went to the hospital, they were like, the only thing they found in her system was marijuana. And so they were like, it could be like synthetic weed, essentially. And there wasn't really a lot of tests to test for that. So there wasn't really a way for them to like verify, but there was nothing in her system. But then I started thinking about it because I'm like, you can go through trauma that does put you in a state of psychosis. And honestly, being trapped for a weekend with no food, water, or being able to sleep can definitely do that. And so I was like, okay, I just have to, as a mom, I was just like, let me lean in. Lean in. You know, I did rely on my community. Like Khalil said, at this point, it was my community that was helping me so that I could help her. And so grateful for the people that I have in my life because they were reaching out to people, you know, they were like taking care of things. They're like, you should talk to this person, talk to this person. But there isn't really a specific, I mean, it's abuse, but there isn't really anything that I could find where someone had been through something like that. And honestly, I would wake up, I'd be like, was this a Lifetime movie that I watched last night? Is this real life? But yeah, and honestly, leaning on faith as well, because I'd literally be like, God, help me. I don't know. There's pieces that I'm missing because I don't know the whole full story. But as a mom, I was just like, you know, I wanted to be the best mom that I could be to help my daughter navigate this situation. Because typically in domestic violence situations, the people come back 8 times before they actually walk away. And with the type of like psychological abuse, I don't think she had 8 times in her. So I had to act quickly as a mom, lean on my faith in my community to really find a way to navigate that situation.
Thanks for sharing that. Thank you.
Of course.
Alexandra, we're going to close off with you before we get into the final round. What's been some of the significant changes in your life the last couple of years?
Yeah, well, first, thanks for sharing your story. That's an amazing story that, you know, and I think that for me, the past few years, I feel like transitions in life are never done. And I feel like we've even from a few years ago when I was a young adult, like I lost my father, I watched him slowly, go away. And I think that was the first transition in my life that was really, really hard and kind of helped me build that thicker skin in life. Like, hey, and that opened the doorway for life is always changing. And just when you think that, it's, one way or things are going to be like this, something else may happen. There's another challenge in life. So lately, the main transition that I've been, it's like I left corporate world. Like, my background was in healthcare finance. I worked in healthcare for over 14 years.
Wow.
Became a mom, and then I took a break from the work corporate to be a full-time mom, and then trying to get back into the workforce after being away for like 4 or 5 years. That was a challenge and a huge transitioning. Like, how do I get myself back and show that I am still, I still have like, I'm valid, I just took a short little break, but I'm valid. And then going back into the workforce and juggling everything, still being the wife, the mom, the daughter, everything. And then not being fully fulfilled going back because there's just some things that don't really change. And then I took another transition and I got back to work. And then when I was back at work, I'm like, well, the 9 to 5 is not ideal for me at this point in my life. And I took a leap of faith and I started studying for the real estate license here in the state of Georgia. Got that, and that's what I'm doing now. So I kind of like left a little bit of the work, but I'm still kind of like, I have a few things that I'm juggling right now. I have a few things because we have to financially still have some stability, right? And that is a huge transition that I'm in right now, just juggling like, the real estate market, being a mom, and also like trying to, financially have some stability. And I think that transitions are never done and challenges are going to come up. And I'm just kind of like, all right, put on your big girl pants. Let's go.
Oh, thank you. So we're hearing changing of jobs. We're hearing, also changing our jobs and changing of location. And so the last two things, second to last, is this idea that came up was community for everyone. If we zoom out 5 years in the future, what does our ideal community look like?
Is that an open question or?
Yeah, let's see what
It's
we've got.
This feels like a good, like I think this, I like, and that's why I agreed to like be a part of this panel, because it's like, I think that this is great what's happening like community, because as an adult, it's so hard. Like I can relate how you were saying, like trying to buy friendships and community. And I think that I've been here almost, it'll be 8 years, but it's still a struggle. I still struggle to find like actual good like friendships or people that you can connect and relate to and build that community. And I think that that is something that I hope to like work better on, like build more of those like grounded like friendships, like, because it's my whole life back in Chicago, like my childhood friends are there, all of our families out there. So it was really hard coming here with even to now, we don't have that family support. So it's just us, So I do want the increase in like the community, building friendships, and hopefully that continues to grow.
I'll chime in on the community topic. So in 5 years, my goal is to actually leave the country. So I'm actually looking at buying a house in Spain. There's a couple different places I'm looking at. So I'm going to work remotely from Spain next year. But the goal is to go there, buy a house, enjoy like a slower pace of life, have sietas every day, paella, but also bring my community with me. Like, I feel like if I go there and I do really well and I just flood them with pictures, and tell them to come out, that they'll come out there and be like, okay, you know what, let's switch things up a little bit. My community talks to me a lot about buying out a cul-de-sac or like having like a compound, because typically for me, a lot of the people that I meet and a lot of the people that gravitate towards me, we just have this bond, and it's almost like we become family. We go through highs and lows together. We do whatever. And I'm the type of friend, like, I'm great at problem solving. So I'm like, if you have a problem that's a little bit too much for you to handle, let me know. Let's figure it out, because there's always a way. But that's my goal in 5 years. And also, I feel like I want to transition and become an entrepreneur as well, like Shaquille. And I want my full-time job to just be helping people move from the US to
Okay.
Spain. Like, that's it.
Cool. Love that.
So just to bring it all together, because I think you all are an amazing group of people.
Yes.
When I think of the group here, Soul Session, I think to question the quality of our relationships. It's so easy to have superficial friendships
Yes.
going through life. And it's just of recent I realized you can always go deeper. And so having soulful relationship, I think that goes well with
Yes.
what we're doing here, where people can actually see beyond what they see.
Yeah.
And that's the type of relationships I want to nurture going forward, where I can add value to people's life, but also having that vulnerability so that they understand they're not alone.
Yes.
That I have issues, even though I have this smile. We're all broken people trying to become
Yep.
whole.
Exactly.
But if it is that we come together as a community and store these broken places, these broken vessels, then we can take a step closer to this wholeness that we're
Yes.
called to. And so, in regards to having a holistic idea of community, friendship, and relationship, I think it goes well in hand with what we're trying to accomplish here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
And we'll wrap up with a 30-second advice to someone 5 years ago, where it could be yourself 5 years in the past, or someone going through the same thing. What is a 30-second advice? Anyone can go first.
I'll go first.
Yeah.
Something that comes to mind is just loving people. If you start with love, then you'll get to know the true sense of people. Because I don't need to know you to love you, but I need to love you to know you.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I think when we start just having this true sense of love towards people, then it will help to facilitate a truer sense of community.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome. I agree with that. My 30-second tip would be kind of like love, but I think that it also has to start with yourself. Don't forget about loving yourself
Yeah.
first,
Yes.
because it's so easy to get caught up with taking care of it, like the mom role, you know, and I can relate with the mom,
Yeah.
although my kids are still smaller, but life will always change, but always take care of yourself and love yourself first, because that's the only way you can give love out.
Yeah. I feel like my 30 seconds would be to just keep going, keep having the faith,
Yeah.
do the hard work, keep mapping out things, book the trip, even if you got to go by yourself.
I think I'm going to join you on one of your trips.
And just, keep being positive. Like, everything will just come together. Just keep living life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Keep growing, keep learning.
Amazing. Well, thank you all for joining me today. It's been my pleasure to host y'all. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.